Hey, this is Nick from Remedy667.com, the best place on the internet for horror-themed fonts and typefaces and all that sort of stuff. And today is Horror Font Friday. I got another press book in the mail. This one, as you can see, is for Cauldron of Blood and the Crucible of Horror. Today I'm going to be doing the Crucible of Horror. And we've also got that going on in the background for our movie. And my chair's probably still going to sink. Today's pretty hot. I was going to open my window, but I sound like some hollering idiot yelling into a computer. And my neighbor's like right outside the window. They're like, "What are you doing?" I assume. They've never done that. I'm just making an assumption. All right, let's get started. We got a B, we got a C, we got a H, I. There's an F there, which is pretty cool, and an E. L, O, U, and R. Which R to use? This one. All right, so there's actually not a lot of letters here. It's funny, I picked this one because I thought that it would be easier than Cauldron of Blood. I don't know. Also, Cauldron of Blood feels like a font that already exists that somebody just added blood drops to, and I'm looking for something a little different. And the blood drip fonts, I'm trying to take a break. Not because they're not my total favorite, but because I feel like people are probably going to get bored of watching me just make a bunch of drippy fonts and being like, woo! Anyway, pick up your chair and get started. All right. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to skip that A, but I'm going to get right into the D by duplicating the E and grabbing one of these O's from the top, which we have multiples of, which is nice. And I think it's pretty good there. And this one there, that'll cut down there. It feels weird to have the D pop up like that right here, but you can see it also does it in the R, but it's not as, it's a little more subtle. So I'm just going to add a little bit of subtlety to that, which will open up the bottom of that R a little too. I also want this to kind of roll in right there. That's way too jagged for my liking. And just to make it a little less like the E, we're going to soften that up a bit, and we'll go ahead and group that. And I was gonna mush it in a little bit, but you know what, I think it's actually totally fine. So that is good stuff. We had another C, if you remember, in the title, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab that for my G, and I think I'm gonna use the, is there another EF character? No, I'm going to use the F for my little X height horizontal bar there. Really enjoying this. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but a little theremin background music thing we got going here. I'm going to cut out that drip. This is going to be a super easy font because it's so kind of erratic that I feel like there's going to be, I'll be able to draw the characters a lot quicker. and move through numbers and stuff like that. I just feel like it's going to go pretty quick. And I may be shooting myself in the foot when I say that, since it is missing a lot of characters. But it's got a lot of character. So I'm going to make an S. Always a good place to start. Yep, I was like, I might have made that go in too far, but I can't talk because I'm holding my breath because I'm drawing a line. Gonna group that, and I'm actually gonna lean it back a little bit because it got a little too right heavy, and turn it a little too, which is going to help it. And you know what? I'm gonna even make it a little bigger. Oh, maybe not that much bigger. Maybe like that much bigger. Excuse me. Apparently my nose is still a little stuffy because why not, right? Taking this R, I'm going to cut it right there. And I'm actually going to use this to make my T along with, I think, the L. I wasn't sure if I should do it with the L or the I, but I feel like the L might be the way to go. But maybe I'll come back to that. We'll see. For a Q, this is pretty fun because we can just grab a different O and R all together. You know how we like to use R's to make Q's and vice versa. We'll angle that bad boy. Kind of looks like an I. And then a P. What do you think? That one or this one? Maybe this one. Let's see. What did we do this week? So this morning, not this morning, this afternoon, on my lunch break, we had our monthly live stream in our Slack channel where Dan Cedarholm was working on the Speedball packaging font that he's doing from scratch and glyphs, kind of in this like YouTube live setting. And while he was doing that, I was rushing through an alphabet for I can't remember the name of the movie. It's Italian. It's a giallo. I think it translates to like the police fumbling in the dark, but I don't know if that's the actual title of it or if it got like something completely different in America. Like I think Crucible of Horror is also called The Corpse, maybe. You might want to look that up. I don't know if that's real, but it sounds real. I'm gonna make an N. I feel weird making an N from the H, not because I always make the N from the H, but that H is so defined. See how I'm like adding a little bit more wiggle there? that's just to help give the N a little bit more definition and separate it a little bit from the H, kind of give it its own character, and we'll actually smooth that one out a little bit. And that side in. And that'll separate it even more. So now they don't really look like they were born out of each other. I'm going to wait on the M. I'm going to do the J right now. And to do the J, I'm actually going to go down there, flatten that out. And I'm going to take some of this I. I don't know if you can hear cars going by outside all nutty and loud because they're like, woo, it's the first, the snow's melted. It's like in the 50s. It's grand. Oh, that was terrible. So I like doing J's like this sometimes. It dips below the baseline, and then letters can overlap it a little bit. It's also fun to do with T's and L's. I need a K, an M, an A, and then everything after V. And I don't have any diagonal characters except the N that we built ourselves. So let's start with the Z and kind of wiggle our way in. How does that sound? Kind of fun? Notice how this that little center crossbar I like. Went a little longer with it because I want it to be part of my Z. And I'm getting rid of these drips. It makes me sad. But it has to be done. Say nobody's ever gonna... Look at that, huh? Shrink that down, pull it back up. Now you can't even tell that that came from the E. Why? Because I said so. Whoops. All right, so we're going to use that H trick again that we used in the N to build our A. And I'm going to rotate that one upside down and over a little bit, and this one over a little bit. Rotate that and get that sized way down. It's going to drop kind of below the baseline. And just smoothing those out. I don't want it to hang over on that side, just on the right a little bit. And I want this top piece also to have a little bit of smoothness and... No, that was too much. It's too far. There we go. So now that we've done our A, we are free to do our V, which will give way to our W and our V Actually, I'm gonna take this center part of the A. And we're gonna use that to make the Y, because why not? It's there, right? It may have gotten a little too textured. I think that's maybe a valid argument that I'm not really trying to hear. But I like that. I'm gonna go in. Texture that up a little bit, group it. So instead of flipping the A upside down like I tend to do, I'm going to take the right side and move it to the left. And that will give us a little bit more variation to start with. I don't want that wiggly side. I want that to be a little smoother. I want that to round up, and I want this spot to be gone. And I want this top to smooth out. And now there we have recycled that piece a lot at this point. So now we're making our W, classic style. Delete that. This is going in here. This is going here, but it's gonna, the angle's gonna be more pronounced than it was in the V. And this bottom part is going to get clipped. Group. Not too shabby. So this on the left side of the W, that I'm going to smooth out a little bit. It's probably not going to come into question where the V and the W will be right next to each other unless Volkswagen wants to use a font like this for an ad. What a crazy world. But yeah. So I'm going to take the center, rotate it. I'm going to duplicate the N and delete the middle. And sorry, my stomach is making weird noises. I just ate some Walmart pizza. Not like a pizza place that is Walmart, but like a frozen pizza that I believe is a Walmart brand. I don't know. They're little, they're not squares. They're like rectangles. They come in a box. They're always on clearance, but they're way better than regular frozen pizza. At least the frozen pizza that they sell at our little friendly neighborhood gas station looking version of a Walmart. Those are very similar. All right, so the bottom's not too bad. This right there. Well, you know what I just realized? Let's make the K from the R's. And then Maybe we'll make the X's from the R's. Or from the K's. Probably not. Uh-oh. Something crazy's happening. He's got like a whip or something. And somebody's yelling and somebody is crying. And it looks like somebody's playing music. Or audio recording. Whatever the hell is going on. So bring it in just a little bit. Make it a little bigger. So X. And that puts us in a good place. Did not. So let's grab these real quick. Oops. Whoops. That M was not grouped. That would have given us so many problems when we tried to import it. Can you believe that? What did I say I was going to make the X out of? I got an idea. Let's make the X out of the M. It's fairly simple when you think about it. And because all the lines are even, theoretically, they should match up pretty good. Group, rotate. Actually, let's see what it looks like upside down. I think I might like it upside down and reflected. So the heavy part is on the bottom left. Yes. And that will get a little bit more rotation. And I think that works as an X. Let's go ahead, and I did it on the guide layer again. Do I do this every week? Is this my first rodeo? All right, I'll be right back with the numbers. All right, let's get to some numbers. There's our recipe. So earlier today, when I said I was working on a different font, like on a different computer, not recorded, and I got the numbers and I got the letters, and then I got into the next part, the fancy pieces or whatever, the part I'm going to get to after this, basically. And I got that far and I'm just cooking through it, and then I was like, all right, I gotta get back to work. And plus, I'm not even recording this. And I'm going to try and record one tonight. Like, bad news bears. I'm going to be so burnt out if I keep on with this. So I stopped. And I saved it for myself to mess around with on Monday, which will be nice. I feel like that just needed to rotate a little bit. There may be something off with our S. I'm not really gonna know until I get there. And when I say when I get there, I mean like when I don't know what I mean. When I see it in context, I guess, is what I'm thinking. That 3's really wide. And this side's really high. You know what I think? I don't think it's that it's high. I think it needs to come up a little bit and around a little bit. And I think that's all right, looking 3, 4. Now remember what we were saying earlier with the H being too stylized. So see what I did there? Raising the 5 also, like I just did. That's a move that I did in the Giallo font earlier, so that was good that I did that because it gave me that idea. And I guess my idea is to try and get that font out as well. I don't know. I still work on other stuff in the background. It's just kind of a compulsion. But uh-oh. Let me make sure everybody's safe. It was our youngest showing us some flowers they had purchased. Gonna go ahead and group that one. The 7, I'm gonna do it old school style. I want it heavy-handed at the bottom though, like that. Keeping it thick. This is where the S is actually going to shine as an 8. I got a Severin box set in the mail today for the Susanna films, which are like Indonesian horror films, and they sent me that trailer and I was like, oh man, this looks so crazy and amazing. I gotta pick this up. I was like, plus the box, the packaging for it, the lettering is so good. It reminded me of a font that I made like a year or two ago during 31 Days of Horror Fonts. That begins with a B, and it's on Retro Supply. It's called Broken Zorvos. I had to look that up. All right, so there's our numbers. Let's go ahead and add those to the font. And Smart Space and Kernum, and save it as DS Crucible. So now that sets us up for success in the next realm, with the exception of the fact that we drew on our guides. but that's fine. I'm going to pull all the way to the left. So I used to do, I think I probably mentioned this all the time, but I used to do like 20 of these in a file and like kind of work on each font at once, AA, BBB. And, but my layers were all well organized. Look at these layers. They're all named like layer 1, 6, 5, 2, 3, 7. They're in what order, you know? And then like I'm drawing on my guide layer like a moron. This layer is gonna start off with you know, my fancy letters or whatever. And then but above it on the same layer are my stylistic set, probably stylistic set number 2, like from a different font that I did last week. So doing them a week at a time has its benefits and drawbacks. Normally, notice how I didn't say pluses and bads. I almost did a Western font this week too. I've been seeing a lot of really cool pulps lately. And I actually have a whole, we went to an estate sale last year. And these people had a whole library in their basement. And my wife bought a ton of books. And we got home and we dug through them and like, you know, got them all processed or whatever. And part of that was I went through and scanned all the ones that had really cool lettering on the covers. And I think I've only made a font from one of them so far. So there's definitely work to be done there as well. The center of that B was too much. That's better. Can you hear the theremin? It's so good. Can you even hear me when I whisper like that? Because it's also so good. But yeah, so I got a folder on my computer with just a bunch of scanned book covers from old pulps that I need to get to it. Also coming up with trying to come up with new ways to make the @ symbol, because I'm not too happy with the way mine have been coming out. I also noticed I've been looking at a lot of other fonts, and a lot of people for their copyright and registration marks just use like Helvetica. So I was like, oh, maybe I should just do that, because I don't know who's going to use a crazy looking one anyway. Even when you look at the back of a movie or like an audio record, it's got like the copyright legal information is always in like a sans serif workhorse font. So, and I don't really plan on making a sans serif workhorse font anytime soon that I know of. I mean, I might get the urge. I've really been wanting to make a connected script, and I've tried it before and I've failed it many times, but you know, at some point it will be the charm. So I'm just gonna keep at it. That one didn't look too bad. I like the look of that. All right. Let's see. Where are we going after this? Oh, it's my favorite part. The equals maths. All right. Group that as our M dash. Slide it in halfway for the M dash and or N. I want my pathfinder to make that one shape and that one shape because this weird googliness right here, that's going away. Cut. Whoa. What a weird cut. Little too much off the top. Go ahead and all in together that bit. That is our underscore. Usually the same as an N dash, but I made it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to push the dashes in a little bit. I'm thinking about the way the rest of the words look, and I think having a really chunky dash is going to be really interesting. But I also feel like because it's so heavy, it should probably be a little bit shorter. And that might help with it not looking too exaggerated, for lack of a better word. All right, that's my tops and bottoms, so I got to keep it together. Let's get this nice and cleaned up for an equal sign. Or, yes. An equal sign. I was right. We're going to group those slight and short. Get it even in the middle. This is the best part right here because it's efficient proficiency. No other part of the font will you be making letters, or characters, I guess, as fast as you are right now. This font is in the prime of its life. It's not even made yet. All right. Next is the... Whoa. It requires equal signs. Whoops. Group, ungroup. Transform, reflect, enter. Thinner. Actually, let's do this. Because that was losing its shape a bit. Try and do it as straight as we can. Thinner. Now let's group that and thinner it up just a little bit more. I'm not really going to save that. I want it think just that much bigger. And thin that out a little bit. We will group those. I don't know why this isn't my favorite part. It's pretty fun. I guess just because you come out of that last bit when you're making characters so fast, and then you get here and you're like, oh, these take forever, and they're so similar. I'm gonna cut a lot of that out, trim the fat. I'm gonna take this S and shove it. Group that. What we're doing here is making our number sign, or I think it's also called a pound these days, or hashtag maybe. I don't know that. Go ahead and group that. I like that one. And after the S. All right, so now we need an O. Whew, good, there's one right there. Delete that. We apparently keep another O kicking around. I'm gonna move that over just a little bit, just a hair, and get started with the strikeout. So I make it a little smaller for my not equal sign. I go a little more out of bounds. Group that. Actually want that to be a little bit bigger. And that is also going to go over there as my ordinal. That's why the ordinal is always really thick, because I do that, but I don't do that when I make the A, which is not called an ordinal. It's called something else entirely. And to make this degree, I'm literally just making the hole wider. All right, so that's that bit. Where are we moving next? How are we looking on time? We're at like 40 minutes, right? 45 minutes. IIS, that's all we need for this. All right, let's make some periods and exclamation points and punctuation. That is my center. And because it gets a little low on that side, I'm going to make an adjustment to it. Group all those, grab all those and bring them over there. bring this, make it a little bigger, and delete the center, and that is our bullet. Group, can I look at my guides? Are they too messy at this level? They are, but I can take a look at how I want that to go. Perfect. So those two are kind of slow to get through, right? And then for the longest time, and I almost did it again, as I was like, well, that took a while to get through. I would forget to do the ellipsis. And I almost just now did that again. So let's do that before I totally forget. Just gonna smooth that a little like that. And that just mixes it up a little bit more. I'm gonna grab one of these and make my way to the yellow layer, which, I don't know, has something else going on with it. I'm gonna pause and build up my set so that I can paste in some new stuff. So I'll be right back. All right, so here we go on the yellow layer. And this is currency. I'm just going to cut it in the middle. Group that. Group that. Group that. And group that. Just huffing and puffing. I promise these next two pieces go pretty quick. That's why I did them all as one group. So you remember what we do here? This one we actually hand draw real quick. It's pretty simple equation. You can also do different stuff there. I've been wanting to do some ligatures lately and some lockups in a font, but I don't have, like, none of these like make sense to me as that. Oh yeah, that would look really good. I did come up with, I do have one that I'm kind of working on in the background that I think I might use to do some lockups with, though. I think that'll look pretty cool. To kind of looks like a script you'd see on like an old magic shop, or like I got this old poster book. We were at the Peabody Essex Museum a couple years ago, and they had an exhibit on like magic and the occult. A lot of like Pepper's Ghosts and tableside seances type of stuff. But yeah, it they had this really cool book there, and I went to the bookshelf and they were out of it, so I went and found it on eBay and bought a copy. And it's got all of the it was like a huge poster show, and so it has all the posters that were in the show are in this book, and it's amazing. Every time we go there when they have some kind of poster show, it's always really amazing. We saw they had Kirk Hammett's poster collection of like classic horror movie posters. We went and saw a couple years ago, and that was amazing because like you see that stuff, you just you go on Pinterest or you open a magazine, and there are these common, one sheets and three sheets of, movies that everybody knows. And you're looking at the actual posters and they're huge. It was really fun. I think we did that one with the kids. Back when you could still park in Salem in October. And it wasn't, well, I was saying it wasn't a total zoo yet, but it was. It was a total zoo. But you could still park there. So my time limit today is based on, I want to try to get some other stuff done in addition to this. Ooh, getting close. This next one's also really easy. The smalls. Oh, gee. Lately, when I've been making the smalls, I've been forgetting to lock the T and M together. What was that? I hit T instead of whatever the rotate key is these days. This is way too heavy. So that side's got to go down and this side's got to come in. And that is more like it. See what I tell you? That was a quick. And it's already done. Lock that. What are we at? 53 minutes? Can we do Diacritics in 6 minutes? All right, we're going to take our Diacritics to another layer. Why does that already have something on it? Oh, it doesn't. All right. Front and center. Here we go. So we're going to start out with the diaresis umlaut and duplicate that. I'm going to get rid of that one. I don't think I like it as much. And I'm going to go up first. I always confuse this with the Karen circumflex. In my mind, when I was a youth, my friend had this computer game, like a text-based computer game, and you would type things in, and it would say what you typed, you know, within reason. You could, it had some blocks in there, but you would type that capital 6 and it would go carrot. Which was funny because you couldn't get it to say carrot properly otherwise. But we'd always, you know, type in the weird symbols and have it spout off about whatever symbol something was. Because it said those so smooth. And it was such a cool thing back then, you know? Like to have a computer that talked. And this wasn't like in the 80s or anything. Like this was like the late 90s. Like they had video games that talked. Like this was like this was a pretty old game that we used to mess around with when we found it. It was just like something that he'd had. Like when I went to college, I went digging in the garage and I found an old like I don't know, like a Tandy or something like that. And it had like the black and green monitor, and it had this like archery war game. And I just like sat and played it for hours. And it's funny because that would have been a game from like when I was in elementary school, and there I was like 17 playing this game that was so old compared to what was around at the time. It doesn't matter. That story's over with. We clocked in at a little under an hour, and that was Crucible of Horror. We made it. We did it. And we're doing great. It came out good. This feels like something that I probably won't make a lot of extra characters for because they're so elaborate. But we'll see. I may mess around more with the other font this week, and then yeah, I don't know. But that was it. Let's jump back to the regular alphabet and take a look at what we've got. So this is our horror font of the week from the Crucible of Horror, starring Boris Karloff. Yeah. The Q looks a little weird. The R's look weird. This is definitely a pretty bizarre font, but might be interesting. I'm going to get rid of this on the U because that's going to drive me nuts at some point. But yeah, looking pretty good. I like that 2. The 3 actually came out pretty good. The 4 I might move down a little bit in the base, but I probably won't. I guess if I were going to make an alternate of it. The 8 seems / feels a little thick, especially compared to the 6 and the 9, but that doesn't really bother me that much because there's so much inconsistency in the letter forms already. And that's why I picked this font, because it was so inconsistent that I thought it would be kind of a quick run through. And I think I proved myself right by coming in at under an hour, 59 minutes now.